episode 3, Luke 817. And it's your boy Icon with a Netflix review for you, going over episode 3 of Warrior Nun. And thank you to everybody who's been watching my Warrior Nun reviews and leaving comments thus far, whether you love the show or you don't. So now, in this particular episode, we're in Madrid. Like all the nuns, we're having a nuns convention at Madrid, because that's where, Yasmin had told everybody to meet because she had special plans that she could only tell the Warrior Nun. So Ava gets there, Beatrice gets there, they're walking around. For some reason, despite the fact that we just learned that Shotgun Mary is quote unquote dead, I still don't believe that, Ava wants to go sightseeing rather than focus on the task at hand. Beatrice was a little upset about that, and then she even said, like, damn it to hell, and made the sign of the cross, but she's about the business, and they got to handle nun business, so they go down to the theater where all the nuns have gathered. So everybody gets there, and then as soon as Ava sees Mother Superior, she gave her a big hug, which was very uncomfortable for Mother Superior. The other girl, with the weapons girl, she was there, and they were talking to Yasmin. So now Yasmin basically told them the story about when her congregation, like her unit that served under the previous Warrior Nun or the first Warrior Nun, they created a device, the way that it was a device that defeated Ariel when they defeated him the first time. She said that the item in play that's used to take away the power of Ariel, it is none other than a thorn crown. Yes, the thorn crown that was once placed on the head of Jesus during Easter, in which he died on the cross and rose from the dead. And even Ava was just like, are we talking about like Jesus? And to me, I mean, I don't see why it's a surprise that we've gone there at this point, because when everybody found out it was like literally like the thorn crown, they were just like, this can't be. This is so. I'm like, the dude was walking on water like in the last episode, and then in that same episode he turned water into wine. I'm like, he's done everything at this point except help blind men see. Like this is what we're doing. So now they're just like, well, where's the crown? And then, Yasmin's like, that's why I brought you to Madrid, because it's at a museum where colonizers have taken our precious items, because we do find out that she's Egyptian. And she says they stole our belongings and they placed it on display at a museum. So they got to go down to the museum and they got to steal this crown. So the nuns go down to the museum, they put certain things into play. And there was a little riff moment, because for some reason, Beatrice has beef with like everybody individually at some point. She was beefing with Ava in the last episode. And then in this episode, she has a beef with the girl who's in charge of the weapons, because when the weapons girl was going around like taking out security cameras and recording footage and doing this, that, and the third, Beatrice is walking behind her, checking out her work and everything. And she's like, oh, do you not trust me? So that you think, she's like, when you were gone, I had to survive on my own, me and Mother Superior. And then she was just like, look, this is very important. If we don't do this the right way, then, like the world is lost. And then she was like, well, then trust, I know what she was like, well, trust, I know what I'm doing. And she was like, for the love of Christ, even he didn't know everything. And I'm like, or did he? Because just because the plan didn't work doesn't mean it wasn't the plan. So they put everything into play, and now they're just waiting to get the crown. So they go in, they wait till nightfall. Like nightfall comes, the nuns come back, they beat up a security guard, and then they go into the museum, and then they go to steal the crown. When they go steal the crown, Yasmin had said that when Ava touches the crown, because she's the Warrior Nun, because she has the halo, it'll light up for her as soon as she touches it. When they found the crown, Ava levitated off the ground. She phased through the glass, took the crown out of the glass, and when she took the crown out of the glass, nothing happened. So now they were just like, oh, snizzap. So they went to Yasmin. They were just like, look, it ain't working. So we need you to, help us find the real crown, because apparently this one is a dud. And then Yasmin, she was a little hesitant at first, but then she decided to do it. So she goes into the museum, and then she goes in the museum with them, and then she finds that the crown that was on the head of Jesus was actually a decoy, and the real crown was hidden under a statue of a nun, like the cloak that they wear to protect their hair. It was actually under that. And then she said like her ancestor did that because she recognized the woven pattern, and then there was this whole thing of like only a woman would notice that or something. I understand what they was talking about, so I guess that statement is 100% true. So they go to the nun statue, they get the crown, and then when they get the crown, they're met by Vincent, who goes in, and then Ariel, who's outside because he was like doing mind voodoo, messing with the cash with the weapons cash girl. Now, the funny thing is, in the beginning of the episode, when Beatrice and Ava was walking through Madrid and they were trying to make their way to where the rest of the nuns are, they actually got run up on by Vincent earlier in the episode. He ran up on him in an alley. He shot a dart in Beatrice's neck and knocked her out. And then he approached Ava, and then he told Ava, he was like, why don't you join me, and then join Ariel, and your power will be absolute, and everything. And then she was just like, no. Now, in the last episode, Beatrice made this whole thing. She was just like, you have to listen to me. It's my job to make sure that you don't die. Like, I'm here to keep you alive, blah, blah, blah. And the whole time Ava was just like, oh, I'm trying to make this up on the fly. I don't know what I'm doing, and blah, blah, blah. Which to me was like, that's the whole reason why you should listen to Beatrice. And then Beatrice said to her in the last episode, she was like, listen, because she said that we need to finish training. And then that's when Ava was like, why do we need more training? We've been training and training and training for months now. She was like, it's time for some action. And then she was like, no, we need more training. So this way, when the battle comes, we're prepared for it, because I don't want you to be unprepared and I don't want you to die. Ava thought that was stupid, but she ended up listening but she told Beatrice, she was like, fine, if you want to train, we'll train. Clearly, Ava decided not to do the training, because when she fought Vincent beat that ass. The whole time Vincent was beating her ass, I was just thinking about what Beatrice said to her in episode 2 about her training more so she'll be ready for the battle. Vincent doesn't even have power like that. He had some blue marking on his wrist that said, oh, you're not going to be able to phase through the stuff that I do because I have this magical blue stuff on my wrist, so the phasing won't work. But I'm like, okay, just because the girl can't phase doesn't mean she can't actually beat you in a fight, and then she got her ass beat anyway. So she ended up pulling the super speed to get him to shoot himself in the neck. But then fast forward when we're at the museum now, where Ava actually has the correct thorn crown, she has the crown in her hand, Vincent shows up and beats that ass again. So if I'm Beatrice, Petty LaBelle would have came out, with the quickness. Like the moment when Vincent had beat up Ava and put the crown on Ava's head, because they said that the crown nullifies magic power. Like, it'll take away a person's power. When he put the crown on Ava, it null and voided her power immediately, and then Ava passed out and went in his arm. And if I was Beatrice, the moment he walked away, I'd have been like, that's why I told you need more training, because it wasn't even a battle. And I was like, this is sad. Like, you're the Warrior Nun. Like, why you getting, Vincent's not even an important character. Vincent is a random henchman. Like, he has no significance to this. Maybe he does. Who knows? And even then, when they were explaining the crown thing, and then Yasmin was like, oh, if you just put the crown on his head, it'll take away his power, then you'll be able to defeat him. The whole time I was thinking, why wouldn't he then just take the crown off? If you put the crown on his head and then it takes away his power, why would he then not just remove it from him? Or if for some reason, he doesn't think about doing that, when he's fighting Ava, why would the crown just not fall off his head because he's doing all this movement? I was just like, there's something about this that she's not saying. But then when Vincent put the crown on Ava's head, she immediately passed out. So I was like, okay, well, you failed to mention that the reason why you'll be not only will you be powerless, but the crown will then put you in a comatose state to the point where, but then if he passes out, there's no need to defeat him. He's already defeated. So anyway, her explanation of that had some holes in it. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, Ava passed out. He picked her up, and then he started walking out of the museum. The nuns were just like, no, Ava, don't go. And then that was that. So in other news, the Pope is torturing black people because one of the Pope's trusted advisors come to find out he's actually a traitor and a turncoat, and he was secretly working for Adriel all along because he had the markings on his wrist, just like the Slytherin house in Harry Potter. And then when the Pope found out that there was a traitor amongst us, he took him down to the basement where no one could hear him scream and proceeded to torture him. And then while he was torturing the one black priest, he looked at the second black priest and said, if you're betraying me too, you'll be next, boy. And I was just like, this is awkward. So then after he tortured him, the black dude ended up giving up the information that the Pope needed, as far as I guess not so much how to defeat Adriel, but what Adriel's plan was. He gave him the info that he needed, and then the Pope went back upstairs. And then when the Pope went back upstairs and he was walking through the halls, he was looking around at the people that was in the Vatican with him, and then he saw Adriel's markings, like the children of Adriel. He saw their markings on his wrist. So the Pope now knows basically he's surrounded and that Adriel's people is everywhere. So I don't know if the Pope's gonna ring the bell to bring the nuns back to protect his behind, but something's definitely happening, because a lot of the children of Adriel are actually in the Vatican with the Pope, and it's messed up that they're not even gonna bust black dude out of the prison that he's in. But anyway, and then that leaves us to Lilith, who ended up going to the scientist's house to try to see if she could help her with her little power issue. The scientist basically said that because of her power, And because she got her power by going into like this other realm, this other world, she said that her going back in, she said the reason why she has like these weird powers where she can disappear and her nails can grow and stuff, she said because you went in there the first time, you were like, I guess like soaking up its energy or whatever. It was like cooking, for lack of a better term, it was cooking her, and she came out of the oven before she was ready. So this is the result of, you know, her not being in the oven long enough. So she said if you go back in the portal, it should cook you the, you know, the rest of the way long enough for you to actually reset, and then your body should be normal. And then Lilith was just like, so basically you want to use me as a guinea pig to go into the portal to quote unquote fix myself when you really just want me to find your son. And then the scientist was like, first of all, I'm not going to apologize for desperately wanting my son back. She said, you need help, I need help, let's work together and we can both get the answers that we need. So she convinces Lilith to take her behind in the portal. She goes into the portal, and then 10 seconds later, she gets shot back out of the portal as though the portal just ate something its stomach didn't agree with, and it like excessively hurled. And she flew out of the portal back onto the table and landed on the ground. The scientist goes to her, and then she's just like, oh my God. She never even asked her if she was okay. She just walked over, like the girl went flying through the air and crashed through a table. The first thing the scientist says is, what did you see? And I'm just like, I can't breathe. Like, you know, like my chest is on fire. And then she told her, she was just like, oh my God, it was so dreadful. She's like, I was trapped for hours. And then she was like, girl, you've been in there for 10 seconds. She was like, he was barely in there for 10 seconds. And she was like, no, it was hours. She's like, I had to fight my way through and I saw demons. And then she said, whatever's in there doesn't want me in there. And then she was just like, this can't be because you were only gone for mere seconds. And then she's just like, oh, the portal, you know, time works differently. And there's like all these temporal zones and blah, blah, blah. And then she was like 10 minutes, for 10 seconds. She was like 10 seconds for me was 10 hours for you. This is unbelievable. Which says to me, because her son ran in there and he never came out. And if we're now saying that time works differently in the portal versus on Earth, when her son finally comes out of the portal, he's going to be a grown-ass man. Because he went in there at the tender age of 5. I guess for every 10 seconds is like 10 hours. So the boy been in there since last season. So when he comes, he's probably gonna have gray hair when he come out. But but when he finally does come out, or when his mom finally finds a way to get him out, it's basically gonna be like, yo, what up, ma? It was really good. Because like I said, time passes differently, and that's not gonna change when he comes out of the portal. I'm looking forward to that because I want to see her reaction when this grown ass man comes out of this portal. But this will be funny. So we'll see, you know, more on that. And then after that, you know, then the scientist said to Lilith, she was just like, oh, just get your bearings. Here's a drink of water. Let's try again in a couple of hours. And then she was like, bitch. She's like, I'm not going back in there. And then she said, you just want to use me as your guinea pig just to get what you desire. And then she was like, if you don't have the answers I seek, I will seek them somewhere else, you know, to more appropriate means. And then she disappeared. So then when she disappeared, now that takes us back to the museum where Vincent had just dragged Ava's ass out of the museum. And we see Adriel sitting outside the museum waiting. So obviously, if Vincent just picked up Ava and he's walking with her out of the museum, and then it cuts to Adriel sitting outside the museum, you would think Vincent would walk up and he would place Ava down at Adriel's feet, and then they'll do whatever it is they're gonna do. But then when the camera cut to the person that approached Adriel, it was actually Lilith, who had just disappeared and left the scientist and went to him, because she was basically like, if the scientist doesn't have the answers, she's like, I'm going to find somebody who does. Adriel's clearly the only person that could potentially have the answers that she needs. And whether or not she's going to pretend to be on his side, whether or not she's going to be a double agent, or maybe she is just drinking the Kool-Aid and then she's just like, if you can help me, I'll do whatever you want, sir. Like that remains to be seen. But I don't think she's turning to the dark side. I think she's just going to pretend to be on his side long enough to get the answers that she wants and to see if she can personally be fixed. But it makes perfect sense why she would even go to him to begin with, because no one else has been alive long enough to know what the hell's going on. So that was it. And Vincent's still on his way out of the museum with Ava. We don't know what happened because the episode ended. And thank you for tuning in. So this is interesting. I don't think Ava will make it into the hands of Adriel because this is episode 3. We're getting 8 episodes of Warrior Nun. So if Ava's in the clutches of Adriel at episode 3, what the hell are we going to do for the last 5? So I don't think she's going to make it out of the museum. Like, somebody's going to intervene. Somebody's going to interject. Hell, Shotgun Mary could come back out of nowhere, bust Vince's ass, and like snatch up Ava and like bring her back to the nuns. But we shall see when we review the next episode. So share your questions, comments, and or concerns down below. What did you think of episode 3 of Warrior Nun? Are you interested so far? Are you excited? If you watched the whole season already, because I know this is on Netflix, only spoil and talk about things that happen in this particular episode, and we'll move on to episode 4. Check me out on Twitter and or Instagram, always on YouTube, where you can leave your questions, comments, and concerns. Don't forget, we still got Stargirl coming back. Stargirl comes back on the 30th, and we will continue to review that. We're still doing those Titans, baby. And on December 8th, we have the returning Doom Patrol. So that was it, guys. So thank you for tuning in. So until next time, till episode 4 of Warrior, may the scriptures of Luke protect you always. And until then, may the Lord be with you.